What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense podcast. I have Lauren with us today, and we're going to dive into dating, relationships, red flags, green flags, and maybe some yellow flags if those truly do exist. I know I've been teasing this a little bit on Instagram, and it was supposed to drop last week, but my friend Olivia, if you're listening, fucking bailed, so fuck you. Just kidding. Love you. Yeah, we're going to get into this in just a little bit. What's up, Lauren? A long time no see.
I know. I've missed you.
I missed you too. I bet everyone on the podcast has missed you too and our banter. Sorry, Ivy couldn't make it. We all know she's hilarious with her just randomness, but she just couldn't make it today. So here we are. We're going to just dive on in. I'm awkward as fuck about dating, but I'm honest as hell. And if I don't want to answer the question, I may say pass.
No.
So first, I want to say I got a lot of interesting comments on the gram about red flags that people have had in their relationships. And what I find interesting is when, I did some research, some Googling about what truly are red flags. And what people said are actually not red flags. Like, they're just things that, they're kind of weird and different. Well, I won't say that all of them that they said are not red flags. Some of them are. But they're just kind of weird comments that are different. Yeah. That maybe they're just not your cup of tea.
Okay.
But you're taking it as a red flag. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something I want to kind of start with. Like, so red flags, the true definition are warning signs, knowing it's a red flag versus, oh, that's my notes. Sorry, guys. Red flags, true definition. They're warning signs, quote unquote. So what do you think about that definition?
I think it's vague.
It is very vague. So what's a warning sign? Like, could it be that someone chews with their mouth open? Like, is that a red flag? Or is that just like, okay, that's not my preference. You do you, boo, but I'm not going to be here for it.
No. I would say to me, a red flag is kind of like when you experience something and the little hairs on your neck stand up and you're like, wait a second, what was that? That's the stuff that you listen to.
But what makes it hard, I think, because we all see red flags, right? We choose to. Is it that we're choosing to ignore them, or is it that that's just not something we're into? So like, that's where I draw the line of like, is this a red flag? They're doing this. Is that necessarily a red flag, or am I just not into that?
I mean, I really think it can be both. I think we can like intentionally ignore them, but also, I mean, even in like my own personal like history, when I realize and find out something was a red flag, I can look back and be like, you know what? I remember these things happening and being like, something isn't right, and just kind of not intentionally ignoring it, but I don't know, soothing myself in the moment.
I think I intentionally ignore it. I think it's straight subconscious ignored. Not so much anymore. Like, I think in the past, like, I was just straight was like, that was wrong, but let's just go with it.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of like, was that? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm also in my head a lot because of past trauma. So how do you know if you've had a lot of past trauma in relationships, and obviously you have to work through that, move on, because not everyone's the same, and give other people chances. How do you know that's a red flag in someone new, or are you just working through your past trauma?
That's hard.
Hard.
It is. I think you have to know yourself, and I think you have to have an awareness of not only yourself but other people to be able to differentiate. And I think a lot of people, when they don't know themselves and they don't have boundaries, you have something called enmeshment, which is when you and another person basically become the same person. And so then it's hard to tell the two. Yeah.
It's like when owners start looking like their dogs.
Yeah, nah.
Not the same thing, bro. Not the same thing. No, I get it. So what I found online for red flags, which this will start conversation between you and I, versus what people submitted on Instagram, which are just
I can't wait to hear those, by the way.
Some are hilarious, but some are just like, well, yeah, okay, obvious red flag. But so some red flags that should be red flags that you should automatically notice are things like someone being overly controlling. They're trying to control your behavior, like 100%. What you wear, what you're doing, how you speak, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, had that a lot. Should have noticed it. I initially thought it was endearing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they just care about what I'm wearing. They just want to, they want me to look better. So I'd try to rationalize it in my mind that, but like looking back, I'm like, wow, that was very controlling when someone says, maybe you shouldn't wear that shirt.
Right. But a lot of it depends on like the way, like what your potholes, we call them potholes, like your trauma, like.
I thought you said buttholes.
That's another podcast.
I was like, where are we going with this? Okay, potholes.
Okay. So then we like allow other people to fill them.
Yeah.
And so you find it endearing because of something in your past that has left that pothole. And so when someone comes in, I can't get butthole out of my head.
I heard it again when you said it, but it's fine.
Pothole. Okay, anyway. But I think a lot of how we ignore subconsciously, consciously, whatever, it has a lot to do with what our voids are and like what we're missing in a lot of our past traumas and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's where like I said earlier, that's where it becomes very hard because you have to
confusing.
Think, is this a red flag or is this my past trauma? Because the next one that I found so there was this website that I found that was like a health website or whatever, a mental health website, was talking about 13 signs that are red flags that you should definitely recognize right away. And some of them I'm like, oh yeah, that's an obvious red flag. But then some of them, like this next one, lack of trust. Well, damn, I'm a fucking red flag because I don't trust anybody. And that's from my past.
Yeah.
I've been lied to a lot from the time I was a child by my parents, and then working in the ER for 10 years where all your fucking patients are lying to you. So, like, no one's telling you the truth. And then I stayed in that situation.
You're constantly on guard.
Yeah, in that situationship that I was in for 17 years, like, there was so much lying that now I'm like, well, how, like, when people tell you that they like you and they tell you that they, want to be with you, but then they do other things, and now you question everything.
And it's hard to sometimes tell like reality, like what is real, what's not real.
So I know that's something that I obviously have to work through, but if I'm not trusting someone, am I a fucking walking red flag? Based on this website? So
but I think like you have an awareness of it, so that's different. It is. It is.
Yeah, I have awareness of a lot of things, but that doesn't make it okay. Anyways, following up, next one, feeling low self-esteem from your partner. Initially, when I read this, I was like, well, damn, that's another thing I do. Like, I have low self-esteem, but then I read it correctly, and it's your partner's giving you low self-esteem, such as...
Okay, I was about to ask.
Yeah, so such as, like, you're going to wear that? Mm-hmm. You're going to wear those jeans? I wouldn't wear that. Like, those other girls don't wear that. Why don't you go get a breast augmentation? Your boobs are too small. Like, that's what I think I took from it, and more so.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole lot of controlling, manipulation, gaslighting shit.
Agreed. Yeah. Next one was physical, emotional, and mental abuse, which, yes, is a red flag, but I don't think that's something you notice right away. Because that happens over time when you start realizing, like I was telling you earlier, now that I'm not in the situationship that I was in, and I'm actually dating, which I know we got to get to. Don't want to do that, but anyways, now that I'm actually dating, which I said I would do, I know on my New Year's podcast, and I said I would talk about it, but it's also hard to talk about when other people may not want you to talk about that. But now that I'm dating now, and we'll get to that I'm 34 and now just dating because I've never really dated. That's hard because now looking back, I can be like, oh, yeah, I see that there. That was a little toxic.
Well, when we talk about emotional abuse, and it can be physical abuse too. It's kind of you can think about it like the frog in a boiling pot. You know, if you put it in cold water and you raise the temperature up a little bit at a time, you don't know.
Or if anyone else has watched Made on Netflix, that was a story of emotional abuse, which is harder to identify than physical. Because obviously, if it's physical, you're being hit, and you know it. But like the emotional abuse, you don't know that it's happening until over time,
right?
That it's happening, and it's hard, you can't report it. Like, how do you go up to someone and say, "Well, they made me feel bad"?
Yeah,
Like, so, not that I'm trying to make light or make a joke of that, but like, how do you go up to someone and say, "I'm being emotionally abused"? Like, it's not recognized.
I mean, most of the time you don't know.
Yeah, most of the time it's not recognized by you yourself or other people.
Okay, I'm gonna bring something up. Hope you're okay with this. We were just talking about a few minutes ago. By you dating now, you're able to look back and go, "Holy shit!
Yeah,
that was fucked up."
Yeah,
the things that happened in the past, that was fucked up. And see, I mean that right there. It's like you don't know.
No, because when I was in it, I still wanted to go back to it because I just thought that something was wrong with me and I needed to fix it. But regardless of that situation, like I feel like maybe if we were all more confident in who we are and ourselves, we would recognize it more.
Well, I mean, really, to me and my understanding and kind of where I'm at in life right now is like that's our whole like journey in life is getting back to ourselves. And I think for so many years, a lot of people, they can't stand themselves or they're afraid of themselves. So that's why we go out and we do all these things and we search for these things, these people, whatever. But it's like when you start getting to know yourself, you're able to have those boundaries and such.
For sure. And I think that's why I am okay dating now, which we'll get to that story in a minute. Like, am I okay dating? Because I had to have my friends push me into that date. Hope he's not listening to this, but
I hope he is.
So the next one was substance abuse.
Okay.
And that should be a red flag. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because it depends. Is it a dependency in substance abuse? Like what substance are we talking about? Because I like to drink alcohol. Do I drink alcohol every day? Absolutely not. But when I go out, I want to have a drink with my friends. Or if I'm in a new relationship or dating or whatever, I'm going to drink to make myself a little bit less awkward because I sweat to death when I'm talking to people. And I'm scared to say things.
Yeah.
Which alcohol kind of breaks that barrier of like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking say it, and whatever.
Same.
So that, I don't know, like, are we talking about methamphetamines, cocaine? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Big red flags for me.
Ding, ding, ding.
And marijuana, is that a red flag? It depends on how you act with it. Like, is it something that you can't go without?
Yeah, I think you really need a lot more information.
Yeah, like
I mean, that's really broad.
Substance abuse, because what's abuse?
Exactly. Yeah, what substance?
Because a lot of my family and friends from back home, they smoke marijuana every day. You would never know. Like, and they just need it to chill the fuck out. So
yeah,
it depends on what you're saying. Like, now, if you were like, I'm going to give up groceries to buy my drugs or alcohol,
see,
I mean, a little far from me.
That's where I go to when I think of substance abuse, is when it interferes with your daily living.
Like, I can't afford groceries, but I can afford drugs.
Or, my kids are taken away because,
agreed. 100%. So the next one, which we're going to get a little touchy on because it was narcissism, which is, I think it's becoming more relevant nowadays, but it's hard to recognize.
Narcissism is really tricky because I think that is one of those things right now that's kind of trendy.
It is trendy because so every time I bring up something, not currently, but in past relationships, everyone go, they're a narcissist. And I'm like, that's not really the definition of a narcissist. Like, no, they're just full of themselves. There's a difference in someone being full of themselves versus being a narcissist, because what I wrote down from this website, so a narcissism is when someone is self-obsessed, they misplace their sense of importance, their delusions of grandeur, not speaking in a psychiatric term, and then that they truly believe the world revolves around them. So example being like, they're self-obsessed with themselves, but they kind of put that on you, and then they gaslight you, telling you, they bring all this up like, oh, I'm this person. And then when you say something, they're like, but you're doing that to make me feel this way.
It's one of those things when you walk away and you're like, wait a second. Yeah. Like, did that just happen? Am I in the wrong? And you're fully aware, like, no, this shit's crazy. But at the same time, this person's making me believe that maybe it's me. No.
Well, yeah. Well, and
Really?
I do that a lot anyways with anyone I talk to. Like I will feel that I have a point, and then I will be like, am I wrong? Like, should I, like, is my point wrong?
Mm-hmm.
But that's in any relationships, not just dating. That's in like in friendships, like workplace relationships.
No. I'm talking like someone comes and like sets your clothes on fire, and then you walk away and you're like, but was it my fault? That's what I'm talking about.
Say, and it's something I'm working in therapy. Like, not everything's my fault. And like my aunt says, not everything's about you.
Yeah.
Great, Aunt Debbie. I thought it was. I thought everything was about me. Anyways, next one was anger issues. If they have anger issues, which self-explanatory, if they get mad about certain things, I think that should, like, very early on, red flag. Next one, codependency.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little codependent. Maybe. I don't know. I'm very independent, but then I can become codependent. I don't fucking know what I am.
Listen, everyone is codependent in some way, form, whatever. But that is a topic that like I could talk about a lot. A lot.
A second podcast.
Yes.
I think that next podcast after we talk about these red flags should be codependency, narcissism, like the
kind of
actual,
break them down. Yeah.
All right. So the next one was inability to resolve conflict. So yeah, I mean, I fight about everything. So I'm just kidding. I really don't fight. I like to joke around with people and be like, but is it?
Well, I mean, that could be, yes, but that's also like, what if someone just doesn't have the skills yet?
I think that's what they're saying. Like, that is a problem. Like, you have to have skills to resolve conflict. Like, you have to be open to communication. And if someone is not, I think what they're saying is, if you're not open to communication, that's a red flag.
If you're not willing. Yeah.
Because we all have to change and evolve, especially dating and in relationships. My biggest thing that I've always told everyone, relationships are relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic. Like, me and you have a platonic relationship. We're friends. The only thing difference between me and you, we don't have sex.
Yep.
Versus me and a significant other who is still my good friend, we have sex. So that changes things. So like saying, even in a relationship that's platonic versus romantic, you have to be willing to compromise yourself. Like, there are certain things that obviously our values, our core deep self, we're not going to compromise. Like, but that's why you don't end up in relationships. If you're talking religion and politics and your sexual preferences, like, that is something you're not going to compromise. But there are other things that you can be willing to compromise. I used to be a person, no lie, not willing to compromise at all. I was like, it's my way or the highway. Get the fuck over it.
No.
I still have a little of that in me, but I'm more willing now. And I think that's why I had to go through the relationship that I went through. Yeah. Because he did point out to me that I wasn't willing to compromise and I was just very argumentative. Sure, I'll give you that. I was.
I think you were put in that place.
I was put in that place.
Yeah.
Not just in that relationship, but within my family situation where I always felt like the need to fight for what I had. I felt like I was always in this fight mode that someone was attacking me or taking something away from me. So I felt like, no, I'm not fucking compromising with you because this is what I got. I have me and this is all I have. And so in that sense, when it comes to talking about inability to resolve conflict, completely agree. I was a walking red flag about 10 years ago because I wouldn't do it. Now I'm willing to say, we're two different people, no matter what, friendships, platonic, romantic, two different people coming together to make a one person.
Yes.
We're not the same people.
No.
And there's things that you have to fucking deal with.
Yes. And I think if you're aware of that, then everything can be worked out. Literally everything can be worked out. It's funny because even our like friendship, we're similar in a lot of ways, but we're also very different in a lot of ways. And it's like, you and I have had conversations where it's like,
I was about to say,
wait a second. Like, I love being able to talk about these things, or like you'll send a text and I'm like, wait a second, what does that mean? And you're like, no, I didn't mean anything by it. I'm like, oh, okay.
But I also love the fact that you will ask, because some people will take my messages, because I'm tone deaf. I'm literally tone deaf. My tone is the same when I get excited, mad, sad, whatever. And people are like, are you mad right now? I'm like, actually, no, I'm in a really good mood. So I like that you'll ask, because that's the problem with the world, right? If we don't understand something, why are we not saying, what did you mean by that? Can you explain? Because my perception is you saying this. And then even in this relationship with starting something new with someone, like, we've already had some issues, I wouldn't say issues, but like communication issues where it was via text that was misconstrued. But I also like have to go back and say, look, this is what I actually meant. And like when he would say what he would say, I was like, well, my perception of what you said was this. And so far it's been good in the communication department, other than me being a little crazy, but
you're not crazy. You live. I'm going to repeat this 1,000 times. You are not crazy.
Which we're going to get into that as a red flag. I know that everyone's like, I thought this was a red flag. It is. We're getting into it. It's just long-winded. Skip to minute 30.
We've missed each other.
We'll get into it. Minute 30. Skip ahead. Anyways, next one was constant jealousy. How do you feel about that being a red flag?
Okay, so I'm going to take it maybe a little different direction. When me and my husband first started dating, he was not jealous at all. And I saw that as a red flag.
I do.
But we've been married coming up maybe 14 years. It's somewhere like 14, 15. We've been together. I can't, it's all a blur. But learning now is he had trauma in a past relationship where he was jealous and she made him feel like you were wrong for feeling this, even though he, I think, was in the right. And so then going into our relationship, he felt like he couldn't show jealousy because he was afraid I would run.
I like a little bit of jealousy.
Me too.
I want someone to be like, my bitch bad and don't fucking look at her.
Exactly.
But also be like, playful about it.
Yes.
Like, I don't want someone to, well, I don't know if it was jealousy or if it was a control issues, but in my past relationship, there were comments made like, you're going to wear that? Or are you trying to get their attention? Like, and it wasn't that I was trying to get someone else's attention. I wanted your attention, but sure, I want other people to look at me, but I want you to see that other people are looking at me so that you can be like, my bitch bad.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm trying to do it for someone else.
No, but I mean, it can also make you feel like, in my case, in the like reverse, like I wasn't worth being jealous over.
That's what I'm saying. Like, like I like that little bit of jealousy where it's like, it's cute.
It's almost pride in what you have in the other person.
Because I want to feel a little bit jealous. Like, if someone's looking at my man, I'm like, okay, look at my man, but don't get too close.
But now you can stop.
Like, I see you looking. Yeah, no, he's fine. Back up.
Yeah.
Back up, bitch. So I understand the constant part of it, but like I said, I can see your point of going the opposite direction. If you're not jealous at all, to me, that's a red flag.
Red flag. Yeah.
Because it's like, why aren't you jealous of me?
Yeah. I mean, really, anything can be a red flag. It just depends on the person.
For sure.
Yeah.
So a couple more from this website. Gaslighting, we all know
that
is. And then lack of emotional intelligence. Going back to like if they can't have a conversation and they can't understand you emotionally, probably not the best fit for you.
Well, and also when people do not have a high emotional intelligence, it's going to make you feel crazy.
And I can't date you if you cannot be on an emotional level. Like, and I'm telling, so that's the next segment we're about to get into. So literally stay tuned. It's going to get real. But I have a hard time dating because people cannot have a goddamn conversation. Sorry if anyone can't stand that word, but
no. Like, I completely agree. Like,
just having a conversation is hard for people these days. Like, being on a dating app in your 30s. Oh my God. Like, the shit people say, and I'm just like, how do I conversate off that? Conversate is not a word, but we're just going to go with that.
It is now. Like I've always said, if I had to date right now, like I would either live alone or I would probably become a lesbian. Honestly, like just being real. Because I like...
For sure. And so the last one was negatively affecting other relationships, which I think is kind of obvious. Like if someone's trying to keep you from your friends or I mean, people say they didn't realize it, but I don't know. Again, I'm not judging anyone. Things happen. I don't know. So anyway, so we're going to move into the dating segment because that's what I'm doing nowadays. I'm dating. That's what I'm doing, guys. I'm dating. So for all of y'all that keep asking me if I'm fucking going to date anyone, that's what I'm doing.
It's happening.
So went on a couple dates with a guy. He's pretty fine. He knows he's fine. And so, yeah, I am very insecure about it. Because people tell me I'm cute and stuff. And like everyone thinks that it's what's funny because the people think I'm confident. And people think that I think I look good. When really I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'm average. I'm cute. Like, I don't think I'm hideous.
I don't think your insecurities are about how you look. I think your insecurities go a lot deeper, but that's how it manifests.
Oh, for sure. Like, I think that my insecurities come a lot in relationships because, again, I dated one person for a really long time. There were people in between there that I would date off and on, but it's more of like, everyone that I have dated has told me that I'm annoying or loud, or so then I'm like, well, shit, like, fine, fuck it, I'll just be alone. I'm cool with that. I'm cool. I'm cool with being alone. So yeah, I've went on a couple dates and it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
No. I'm loving this right now, watching you squirm over
This is when everyone needs a YouTube podcast because
Yep. You're dying on the inside, and I'm like, yeah.
yeah. So do you have any questions for that? Because I don't know. What's your questions about dating? Okay, we can talk about dating in 2022. It's dating apps, or you either have to go out or you have to know someone, right? So how this transpired was Facebook message, DM. How do you feel about people sliding in your DMs? Is that a red flag?
Well, up until a few years ago, I didn't know that people could do that because I'm old and married. Yeah. I mean, it's bad too because like I don't even know what the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the rules are around that.
I don't know if there is any rules. So here's the thing. I think that if you want to slide into someone's DMs, absolutely go ahead. Do it. It's not my thing, but I'm old school. I feel like a man should still ask a woman out, even though I know that it's 2022. And if you don't ask someone out, it may not happen.
Well, I think it can go either way, but I think you have to understand like that's our society and our culture is that's what has always been. So it's really hard to go the other way.
What's even like making the first move?
Yeah.
I know you're married, so...
I grabbed his butt.
But I'm just saying, like...
That was my move.
I'm just saying, like, do you feel like even when y'all were dating, going back to dating, did you make him make all the first moves? Or were you like, fuck it, I'm just going to go in for it?
So we knew each other and we were never single at the same time. And then we saw each other in Sammy T's. Oh my God. That's a whole other lifetime
Sammy
ago.
T's marriage.
Yeah. But I saw him and I literally like grabbed his butt and, from then on, it was like I made my intention known, like, cool, I like you. We've liked each other for a while. But then it was like, okay, now the ball's in your court.
Right. So I'm the same way. Like, I don't know. It's probably my insecurities and red flag. Like, number one, I'm super shy and people think that I'm not because they're like, well, you have a podcast and, you know, you talk to people, you're so outgoing, like, especially in the work situation. Like I have my work friends and then I have, you know, outside friends that I hang outside of work. My outside friends know that I have these insecurities and I come off like I'm loud and I talk very fast, but that's my insecurity where I try to compensate. Well, in work, like I play this role where I am very sure I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. It's a set of rules, right? You do these things. Yeah. And I'm not going to let you walk all over me. My therapist says that I am very demanding at work because of my past trauma where I did let people walk all over me. So I don't allow it in that space.
It's a way that you can
control it.
Yes.
And what did you tell me earlier? That I'm uncomfortable in dating because I can't control it.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's a good point because I can't control the outcome.
You're like, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like this feeling. And I said, because you can't control it.
Exactly. Because I can control everything else in my life. I have a great house. I've paid off all my debt. I've paid for everything by myself. I can control whatever I want to control other than that.
See, I don't think it's you're shy or not because I don't think you're shy. No,
you should be a fly on the wall on my first date.
I think that you have a hard time with vulnerability.
Oh, for sure. 100% because I don't know what that's like.
Right. But
I haven't been vulnerable since I was 10, 15.
Yeah, but you can go up and talk to anyone.
With alcohol.
Okay.
Put alcohol in me and I'm the greatest person in the room. Yeah. Even my friends are like, you want to drink tonight? You're a lot more fun. No, I don't know. Like dating, so it's cool. Like I got lucky in person that I went on a date with could actually carry a conversation because that's my biggest thing. I don't want to go on a date and just be carrying the conversation. Yeah. I treated it like a podcast. Went in, asked a bunch of questions and was like, he was like, okay, you're really good at this. I was like, I podcast.
It's kind of my job.
Yeah. It's what I do.
No, when you told me, I was super excited because I think this is what you need. And not in like you need someone. I think you need certain experiences to put distance between you and that. You called it a situationship,
Yeah.
which I love.
It was a situationship.
Yeah. To put distance, because I think it's going to help you realize way more about yourself.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think that's been like, people ask me all the time why I'm not dating or why I've been single for so long or whatever, as if it's a bad thing. And it's not. Like, I don't feel the need to have a relationship because I have me, if that makes sense.
Well, and that can be really intimidating to other people.
For sure. But I'm also getting older and I'm just set in my ways. So let's just talk about grandpa status over here.
I disagree with that. I think
for the right person, you'll compromise.
Yes, but I don't think that you're so set in your ways. I think you know what you want and what you don't want, and you're okay being by yourself. And I don't mean alone in the sense of like you're going to be alone and...
Well, if I am, I am.
But you don't scare yourself. And I think a lot of people are afraid to spend time with themselves because they don't like themselves.
Well, I don't necessarily always like myself, but I like sitting on my couch and watching TV with crickets.
I think... Oh man, we another podcast.
Mark it on the list. Anyway, so yeah, guys, that's my dating update for y'all. I know I said I would keep it in the loop, but then I also kind of get to the point where I'm like, is this oversharing a little bit? Like, because initially I was on a dating app and one of my little cues, because like now the dating apps have cues or whatever, and I'm always like on it for literally 2 hours and then I'll pause my profile because like I'm only ever on it when my friends are like, hey.
Yeah.
What's going on in the dating world? I'm like, I don't know. Let's pause my profile and we'll find out.
Yeah.
And so we'll get on it or whatever and we'll swipe or whatever. And then I'll pause it again. So I never respond to anyone because most of the freaking things that people say, I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay. But one of my little cues or whatever to start a conversation was like, something you may not know about me or something. I put like, I host a podcast. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to put in that box was I host a podcast, so be careful what you say. Ooh. Or it may end up on the podcast. But I'm like, that might be a little intimidating.
Yeah.
But yeah, off the dating apps for now. So we'll see. And we'll see. That's kind of what developed into this red flag, green flag, yellow flag podcast. Mm-hmm. Which we're going to dive into the Instagram comments in a minute to start a conversation on that. But before that, I know that you've been with your husband for a really long time. Did you date anyone before him?
Yeah.
Have you been on a bad date that you're just like, okay, I got to tell this story? Let's talk about bad dates right now.
Okay, so let's just talk about this. Back when, I was young, so I got married at 21. So my dating history is really like from 17 to 20.
Yeah.
I didn't have like a first real boyfriend until my senior year in high school, and that didn't last very long. And I think there's a lot of like my stuff that I was like, nope. But I didn't go out on dates because you didn't really like, it wasn't, let's go get dinner, let's go do this or whatever. But the guy that I was dating, we can talk about, this is a big red flag, that I was dating, I say in quotation marks.
One day we will have a live podcast so people can like, we won't have to be like air quotes.
Exactly. So he was dating someone else and then we started talking and the first night I was like, no, I'm not okay with that. So like, if you want to pursue me, that has to stop because no, that's not okay. And so he was like, okay. And so he told me he ended it. But what really happened was maybe he ended it, maybe he didn't, but like, he never held my hand in public.
Yeah.
It was never like we couldn't post.
Secret. Yeah.
Yes. He never posted anything on
17
Facebook.
Years of that. So
Yep. And so when I ran into my husband, like we were night one, that was it. That was it. Game over.
Did you know?
Instantly.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were like, I'm going to marry this man?
So I actually had made the comment a year before when I was in college. We knew each other through the Greek system. He helped me study for a test and he was dating someone and he was super nice, sweet, never hit on me. We studied in his room, whatever. And I came back to our dorm room and I was like, I want to marry that man.
Oh, what? Have you asked, like, does he, one day I'm going to interview both of y'all, but did he feel the same? Like, did he have that whole, like, she was the one I was going to marry?
I think when we ran into each other.
Okay.
He did. Because, I mean, we were living together
Well, people
within
say
2
men
weeks.
know. Men know. Like, men know instantly, like, if they're going to, what it is. Is this just going to turn into a hookup sesh, or is this going to turn into a relationship?
Well, he was dating someone when we, like, had that, like, study session. So he wasn't seeing me in that way, which was, to me, a green flag.
Well, yeah.
Which made me like him even more. But we would run into each other at school, and that he has always said that, like, he would wait in the classroom because we had the same classroom but for different classes.
Yeah.
And so he would be in there and I would show up early and he would stay late. And so we kind of had, you know.
You knew, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've only been on a couple dates, because, you know, I was in that situationship. And in between there, I've been on a couple dates. One in Nashville, when I moved to Nashville. Oh my God, it was so bad. So first of all, I was nervous, like I always am, sweating to death. My cousin had to make me get out of the car because I was on the phone with her because she lives in Nashville. She was like, get out of the car and go inside. So I did. And like, he was just like, because he was super attractive, like Matthew McConaughey looking guy. People always comment on his photos like, oh, you look like Matthew McConaughey. And at the time I was very, very, very insecure. Like, that's gotten a lot better, still insecure, better than I was in 2017. Went on this date with this guy to a bar, and like, I'm an eater, I'm a foodie, I like food. Like, I'm not trying to be dainty with a salad with you. Like, that's just not, like, I'm gonna fucking order some food. You don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I can pay for my own food. If I want to order 5 rounds of drinks, let me do me. You do you. You don't have to pay for it. Anyways, he's like constantly critiquing everything. So I ordered, I think, a burger and fries and a margarita because I was like, that's what I want, you know. I was doing CrossFit at the time, looked real good, could eat what I wanted, whatever. Yeah, like he was like vodka soda. I'm gonna get the salad.
Oh.
And he was like, the whole time, like, you know how many calories are in a margarita?
No.
I turned around and I said, yes, I fucking know how many calories are in a margarita. I'm a fucking nutrition coach. I was like, but I'm gonna drink it. Balance.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'll go back to meal prep on Monday.
No.
So that was a horrible date.
You're like, this has been fun, but
yeah. Then
no
after all that, I was like, I went on a second date when I moved back to Huntsville, and it wasn't that it was a bad date because he wasn't bad. Me being super awkward and haven't been on a date in a while. Oh my God. I wore this yellow shirt, was looking fine as hell. Sweat stains.
Oh.
Sweat pit stains in my shirt. I'm like talking with my hands down. I'm like,
that's the
super
worst.
nervous. Go to the bathroom trying to air dry my pits out.
Yep.
So that's why it was bad. Not him, me. I was super nervous. But now looking back, I was like, ugh, why?
No, dating, it just doesn't seem fun.
So let's just pretend, I know your husband doesn't listen to this, but let's just pretend you get a divorce. What are you going to do if you have to date?
I think I'd be good on my own, honestly. And it's one of those things, like, if I ran, I don't know that I would ever do a dating app.
It's so awkward. And not in the sense, like, it's boring, but also people are only judging you based on your looks. They have no idea what your personality's like.
Oh, well, mine's awkward.
So is mine. Anyone can attest to that. So we're going to now dive into the Instagram red flags for the people who commented, because they're hilarious. Some of y'all I know and why y'all wrote that, and I don't know if I'll be talking about why you wrote that, but anyways, first one, hoes that give church hugs. Backstory.
Oh my God.
My first date, apparently I gave a church hug because I'm super awkward and I'm nervous, and I side hugged.
Is that the side hug?
That's
okay.
the side hug. And so when the girls at work were asking me, I was like, yeah. They said, you gave him a church hug, didn't you? And I said,
oh my gosh.
No. And then he kept saying, yeah, just got that church hug. I was like, I mean, we were walking up side by side. Did you want me to turn full body around and give you a hug? I don't know you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
So do you think hoes that give church hugs for the first date?
No.
What if it continues?
If you don't know that person,
it's like, oh, okay, honey, pat on the back.
Yeah.
The next one was talking degrading about their ex or the mother of their children.
Red flag.
Red flag. And this kind of goes into one of my red flags, when men call women crazy I think, I mean, obviously there are all kinds of crazy people out there, but when men specifically, they like to use the word crazy.
Yeah.
And that's a big red flag to me, because usually 99.9% of the time when women act quote unquote crazy, it's because somebody has done something to make them offset that crazy. Like,
yes.
If I'm having to ask you 25 million questions because you've offset this, take ownership in that. Take ownership in the fact that you did something, and sure, they might have acted out, but take ownership in the fact that you pushed them to that limit. So if you're constantly saying, yeah, that girl was crazy, or this, that's a huge red flag to me.
Yeah.
Don't be calling bitches crazy.
Listen, there are people, both male, female, that are, they've got some stuff to work
I've
through,
done
right?
some crazy shit.
Yeah, but you have to see the whole story.
Exactly. There's always the whole picture,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, well, that wasn't that crazy.
Yeah.
But if you hear like, oh, she drove by his house, that sounds a little crazy. Well, listen to the full story.
Exactly. Is there a reason why she felt the need to drive past the house?
Yeah, like, was
Yep.
he cheating on her 500 times and she was just checking up on that bitch?
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think that ties into the talking degrading about your ex. Like, if you're constantly saying negative things about your ex, then you're also not taking ownership in what you did wrong in the relationship to make it end.
It's a lot of deflection.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
And definitely if you're talking bad about the mother of your children, because you obviously at one point thought they were good enough to have your children. So absolutely agree with that. Someone said love bombing. So before, some people may not know what love bombing is. This was actually a new terminology to me. So what this means is that someone is attempting to influence a person by demonstrating attention and affection. They give grand romantic gestures. They give extravagant gifts, promote excessive communication, request constant attention, demand commitment, resist boundaries. They come out with "you're my soulmate" claim. They say "I love you" very quickly. They're good at saying what you want to hear. They feel too good. It feels too good to be true. Immediate promises about the future, and they put you on a pedestal.
So I have a quote that like it sums it up perfectly. It's a projection of a bond that doesn't yet exist.
Yes.
And it's all the things that you want or you maybe think you should have, and so then you just do it all. And yes, there's a lot of stuff behind that.
But so I talked to my therapist about this. I was like, how do you know when you're dating, like if someone's love bombing you versus like they're just being like genuinely interested? Because I think people get confused because, again, narcissistic is the cool terminology to use these days, but so is love bombing. Like, oh, he's just love bombing you when they're really not. She was like, you'll know, like they're truly suffocating you with attention.
It's funny because I went through some of this with my husband.
Really?
And a lot of it was with how he was raised. And so he then did the things that he saw and was taught. And for me, I'd never been in a serious relationship. Part of me and like my abandonment issues felt loved and needed and was cool. And then part of me felt very like, parts of this doesn't feel right.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It is a lot. But I like now, like I know all the things and all, everyone's working on their issues and stuff. But that is one that you see people who are clingy, they're love bombing. It's something that I think a lot of people want or they think that they're supposed to have.
100% agree. All right, moving on to the next one. Protective of their phone. 100% agree.
Yep.
If someone is hiding their phone from you, they're fucking hiding something.
Yes.
Because why would you? I will hand anyone my phone today.
Me and my husband had this conversation last night. If you're in a relationship, your phones should be open. 100% because
I should know your passcode. You should know my passcode.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You should not be hiding anything at any point. Let's go back to when we didn't have cell phones and we had one phone in the house. And what if you were like, sorry, don't listen to that voicemail.
Right.
That's on the answering machine. Excuse me, what?
Yeah. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to look in my phone, my messages, my DM, go ahead. I ain't got nothing to hide from you.
Photos.
I feel like people who have something to hide will be protective of their phone. 100. Next one, keeping you a secret. Well, let's just talk about that because I can fucking attest.
Yep.
I was a secret for 17 years. I mean, not necessarily a secret, but most of the time a secret. Like I had to lie to my friends about where I was going because, I think that's a lot of my trauma is if I feel like people don't want to introduce me to their friends. I mean, obviously not too soon, too fast, whatever. But if it becomes that, I'm like, they don't know about me. Cool.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah.
So 100% agree with that one too. Somebody said weird about commitment. I don't know if I agree with that being a red flag. Depending on how long they were weird about it would be a red flag because I'm weird about commitment.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to jump into marrying someone tomorrow, and I actually may even be against marriage. I haven't decided yet.
Well, it depends on what commitment means to one person or the other.
Like I would need more like context to that before I could say that was a red flag or not. Someone said only communicates through social media via Snapchat or Instagram.
Yes.
Also can attest. When someone would only text me through Snapchat because it disappears.
Yep.
The notifications you can turn off.
Yep.
You can delete the chat. And you can't screenshot anything to prove that anything existed because it would notify them. So if someone does that to me and I will chat. So the guy I'm currently dating, like we actually communicate through all forms of social media plus text plus whatever. So I don't feel so weird about that. But initially I told him, like I straight was like, we are not snapping through Snapchat.
Well, good.
I was like, because that just, in me, I feel like that's a huge issue.
Yes.
Like, what are you hiding?
Yeah.
Why don't you want this conversation on your phone? Do you not want someone to see this conversation on your phone? You know, I mean, you can delete text and all that too anyways. I don't know. But speaking of, speaking of text messages, excuse me, you can now silence people's notifications individually.
Yep.
Huge. If I notice that I'm on Do Not Disturb 100% of the time, fuck you, fuck off. Like, because you're hiding me so that my number doesn't pop up on your phone.
Yep.
And I'm like, who you hiding me from? You know? Okay, moving on. Not wearing... okay, this is a joke. Not wearing a man's... I was like, what? This is a joke. It's not wearing a man's hoodie. Oh, God. So, backstory. I was at the guy's house that I'm dating, and I needed a hoodie because I was cold. But I was also, like, in the sense, because I know a lot of guys are like, you just want to take my hoodie home. And I was like, no. I will give it back 100% of the time. And I took it off and I gave it back. And I was like, here, I don't want it. And then the next time I brought my own sweater. I'm going to prove to you I don't need you, bitch.
I got my own hoodie.
So that was a joke. Next one, sex on the first date. Red flag or not? That's a good topic of conversation. When is it appropriate to have sex? Is having sex on the first date actually a red flag?
I can't answer that. Because what I did 15 years ago would be different than what I would do now.
Well, I think in the sense of to each their own.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know when to have sex.
Yes.
It's so hard to know, like, if you're feeling it and you're just wanting a hookup and you're not attached, go for it. If you know you're someone, when you have sex with someone, you're going to have emotions behind it. Maybe not the best time to do it. But I don't think necessarily having sex on the first date is a red flag.
Yeah.
Depending on the context behind it. If you had a great first date and you're like, I'm really into this dude, sure.
If y'all are both in a place for that to happen, like physically, emotionally. Yeah.
I don't necessarily have like sex. Number one, I'm not going to have sex with you for a long time. But it takes a lot for me to warm up. But... I don't necessarily think that's a red flag.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, I think it's to each their own in what...
Well, okay, so also too, and we kind of talked about this earlier before we started the podcast, is as we get older, things change.
Things do change.
Like when I was younger, like I waited because I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
But also when people are younger, they think that they are supposed to have sex on the first date or the guy won't be interested.
Yeah, I went the other way.
It's a very fine line. Like we're taught... be ladies, you know, in the South, like don't have sex on the first date, make them work for it. But it's also like, where's that fine line of working for it versus like, I want this too.
That's what I was going to say. What about what we want?
Because no one talks about what women want sexually, which another whole podcast we need to dive into, which is very uncomfortable.
Oh, bring it. Bring it. Yes.
Yes. Yes. If you could just see what I look like right now. Sure. We'll go with that. Moving on. Another one. People who don't stay the night. Like hanging out after sex. What if they're like, I gotta go?
Red flag for me.
Okay. I can say not red flag because I don't stay the night. I was taught that in my past relationship. I was taught that you had sex, you left.
That's what I'm saying. Red flag. Yeah.
What they did, but now knowing that I was taught you leave. So I don't want to intrude on someone.
Right.
So my thinking is from my past relationship, that was normal. That was the normal thing to do.
Right.
You had sex, you hooked up, you left.
Yeah.
It was awkward to stay because that's intimate.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother of vulnerability where you're waking up to someone in the morning and you're just like,
that's the best part.
It is. It is, but I don't know if I would say it's necessarily a red flag that they don't stay.
I mean,
if you talked about it and understood the background of it.
I think if there's a pattern of not staying the night, that's the red flag.
Sure. So to me, the red flag is if someone's like, yeah, I got to go, bye. For sure. But if someone says to you, look, this is what I was taught. This is what I know. I don't know what to do. That's not a red flag. Goes back to communication. 100 communication all the time.
Okay. So I want to ask you a couple questions now.
Oh, God. Put me in the hot seat. I like doing the questions, not answering the questions.
I know. Every time you get...
Squirmy.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. So I would like to know, with you dating right now, what are some like red flags, green flags?
Like with anyone or the particular person I'm dating?
I would say with the person you're dating.
I wouldn't necessarily say there's been any for sure red flags. It's funny because I call him a red flag because the way he looks, like he's just hot. And so I just say that his looks are a red flag because no one that hot should be dating me. But
Stop.
No, I think that there's been my insecurities, which not necessarily a red flag for him, but it should be a red flag for him, not me. That I'm just insecure because of the past that I've been dealt. And I'm trying my best to not get in my head about it and just have fun because I've never just dated and had fun. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And I think that's what, like, everyone that knows you, I think that's what they want for you.
Oh, for sure. One thing he did say that kind of confused me, and I even told him it confused me because I have a lot of friends that are asking me because he doesn't realize, like, I think that he thinks I'm lying. He thinks that people slide in my DMs all the time.
Oh.
And they don't. And I haven't dated or been with anyone in several years. And I don't know if he believes me or not on that either. But.
Okay. Pause. Time out. Okay. So, to whoever you are that Jonna is dating, can we get
we'll call him Sebastian.
Okay. Sebastian.
Okay. Sebastian.
Okay.
That's not his real name, but we'll call him Sebastian.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Sebastian, Jonna, from my experience, and I've known Jonna like since
forever.
Yeah. She is a super loyal person.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I will give myself credit for that. I was fucking loyal to a fault to this guy that wouldn't even date me for 17 years.
But I know, but like what I'm saying is like, you are not the person that's going to be, no,
I'm just saying like my red flag. I mean, there's been no red flags. The only thing that was like a conversation that was had was like, well, maybe we should just keep this between us, which triggered me. Like, to go back to, you know, so-and-so who wouldn't let me say anything. But it wasn't even in that sense. It was more of in a sense of like there was drama a little bit around it. So maybe we should just like not do that so that there's not drama. 100% agree. But I also don't want to be like, if I'm into you and I want to talk to you with my girlfriends, because I have a lot of friends that are really interested in my dating life because I have not dated in so long. And they're like, oh my God, you're dating? Tell me all about it. And people don't believe me when I say that I don't date.
It's funny because I would not have believed you. Like 3-5 years ago. Like, I wouldn't believe you, but I know you now, and she is being honest.
Like, but the thing is I know I'm very intimidating to a lot of guys because I'm not horrible looking. I'm not the best looking. I'm not horrible looking. But I also have my shit together. You know, I have a great house. I have a good job. It's intimidating because when a woman has finally decided I've got me, I don't need you, that can be intimidating.
Yes.
Because I don't need anything from you.
Yeah.
You know, other than to procreate, which I don't want to do. So, you know what I'm saying? So, I wouldn't necessarily say that I've seen any red flags. Green flags being that I've seen is very complimentary. I'm not like overly complimentary, but like we'll definitely give compliments, and I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
So that would be a green flag in my book. Like, I'm not used to someone being like, wow, you're so, you know, you're very pretty, you're beautiful. I'm like, yeah, shut up, you're lying. I could pick out a lot of red flags for him from me.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
I don't know about that.
You don't give yourself enough credit. One of the things that we've talked about with Sebastian is y'all have great conversations.
Oh, for sure. Like, I like the fact that he can actually have, I want to say the word conversate because I'm just going to make that's a word. Okay. Webster, put it in your dictionary. No, like, we have really good conversation. Like, and he's funny as hell. Like, and he doesn't take me seriously, which is great because some people think that I'm just being overly bitchy when I'm really just trying to be funny.
Well, and to have good conversation is super sexy. It is way more fulfilling to a woman than you realize.
I stick around for the looks, not the personality. It's nice to have eye candy and to have a conversation. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. It's new. We'll see.
You've got to let yourself enjoy it. It's Sebastian. Just listen real quick. You got to give her some grace. She doesn't know what she's doing right now, and she's way too hard on herself.
Like, I haven't dated I've only went on those 2 dates in 2017 and 2018. So, other than that, it's been the 17-year situationship.
Well, you're due for a good one. We'll
see. No pressure.
None.
Anyways, that was a good episode. I like talking about red and green flags. I know it was all over the place, but hence, again, Babel's nonsense. So until next time, guys, bye.